Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Card Advantage podcast. This is episode 71, being recorded on August 14th, 2022 at 11:50 a.m. We are recording this in advance. If you didn't listen to the last episode, I will be going in for additional surgery tomorrow, August 15th. So we're going to record this now and then upload it for future listening, which will be when you're downloading this on the 20th of August or later. As always, joined by my co-pilot, Mr. Bunk. What's going on, buddy?
What's up? Feel like I just spoke to you.
Yes, we just did an hour of podcast recording, so not much has changed.
Yeah, good to get back in the saddle.
Yeah, absolutely. Knocked the rust off with the first episode. Back after 2 weeks. We hadn't taken a 2 week hiatus in the history of the podcast, so definitely good to be back here. Um, Sports Card Advantage podcast business. Nothing has changed in the last hour.
Yes, go back and download last
Yeah,
episode
go
for
back if you don't.
Advantage Business.
Yeah, if you're looking for updates on the fantasy league and the t-shirts, that's our Sports Card Advantage podcast business. Go listen to the last episode and the first few minutes, and then I'll give you all the updates on that. With that being said, let's jump right in to this week's episode, and we're going to talk about sports cards hitting national mainstream media, getting plenty of coverage on ESPN, Forbes, Rolling Stone, and a whole bunch of other publications for a few various reasons. Number one, Honus Wagner SGC2 set the record for highest selling sports card of all time at $7 and change million. Number two, the Mantle 1952 Mantle SGC 95 is up for auction. That's closing at the end of this month through Golden. The anticipation is that will eclipse the price of the Wagner. It is already in the 7 millions as of right now, as far as the bidding is concerned. Most people are anticipating that to hit at least $10 million, which would then make it the most expensive sports card sold of all time. The other things that are gaining national media attention, ESPN had an article that was literally on the front page of ESPN.com with Ken Golden and Drake doing box breaks of 1986 Fleer, and then also the LeBron triple logo man Chase. I mean, I would imagine ESPN covered that because of Drake. You also have other things popping up here and there. There was a Rolling Stone article with Miles Teller from Top Gun where he was talking about $25,000 worth of baseball cards that he just bought because he's a huge baseball fan and into the hobby. So this all has happened before, not in obviously this exact way, but 18, 24, 30 months ago, you had this same type of build. You had articles being written, you had high prices being set, and that literally was the catalyst for that massive upswing in price of sports cards from 2020, 2021. So the question that I ask is, are all the new people that are coming into the hobby already here, and this coverage isn't really going to do much, or do you potentially see this leading to some sort of bump and some sort of rise in prices?
Um, I I think that no matter what, all this attention, I think it's going to consistently be bringing in people that either A, used to collect and they're like, damn, I got to go see what's in my garage or what's in my basement. Or with the kids, as we talked about last episode, I think every time these articles get put out and stuff, I think it will continually bring in new folks. The issue then becomes, you see these record sales on things, and then if people entering the hobby only have their sights set on record sales and flips of things, I think that could potentially, in the end, have some negative. But to to talk about pricing, I don't think anything's going to change, no matter how many articles you put, until the price for a box of cards comes down. I think we're going to kind of stay the course we're staying. You can have every celebrity on the sun posting stuff. All that may tend to do is keep raising those prices, because maybe the people getting in now, you get maybe more disposable income people getting in on it and looking for this big payday or this big chase. And maybe it affects the rest of us because we can't get a box price down because they're still being sold out.
So that's interesting. Excuse me. That's interesting that box price is the way you look at it. I would have looked at it as we have different economic conditions now than we had 24 months ago. Obviously, price of gas, price of food, price of
absolutely
general staples much more expensive. Crypto NFT markets not charging up with people making 5, 10, 15, 20x on that. There's just the overall sentiment and the overall mood of everybody is more hold on to cash versus put it into assets right now. And that to me is why some of these people may get in, but some of these people may be watching, because as of right now, unless you're actively buying at shows, getting things for a lot less than comp and then selling it, or buying stuff and holding it for 6 to 12 months, getting lucky with guys like Aaron Judge that are having career seasons, the opportunities for 3, 5, 10x in the hobby aren't there right now.
And that's going to turn a lot of people off. That'll turn a lot of new people off. But again, I say it all the time. I still think the far majority of people buying and collecting and trading cards are those not looking to instantly make money on it.
I don't disagree, but you don't get the optics that you get
100%
when the prices go up 5x. All of a sudden, when the prices go up 5x, the FOMO kicks in, and people are like, I gotta buy, and that pushes the price. I don't think we're there. I think we're in a flat downward cycle for the time being until the economy bounces back and you start to see some of the alternative assets stabilize and find where their footing is going to be. And then we'll start to see normal waves of market conditions versus the everything's going to go up 15 times and then crash.
Right. But hobby box prices are staying the course.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about whether or not that's going to change with some of the stuff that Topps is doing here in a minute. But yeah, I mean, with Panini still being in control for the next at least 3 to 4 years with some of these sports, and looking to make as much money as possible and selling all this stuff out, more than likely they're going to push those prices up as much as they can with what they can get away with.
Yeah, they're just following simple supply and demand, guy. The demand is so goddamn high that they're getting away with charging whatever they want because it all sells.
Which makes no sense to me whatsoever. I mean,
From what standpoint? Because I get it. You're not getting the normal person isn't getting any kind of return on the product. So now it's a matter of, am I really going to spend that much for it was a fun rip?
I mean, that's the whole thing. How many times can you spend $2,000 for the quote unquote fun of it?
If I want fun, I'll open a box of 1988 Topps or a box of Topps opening day for something reasonable with my kids. I'm not opening a $2,000 box and then coming away like, yep, that was fun.
I made $326 on this $2,000 box.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's the whole thing here is a couple of years ago, you had 2018, 2019, 2020 products that people were opening. The quality was good. They had the ability to grade it and get it back and make money. Now you have prices that are 30 to 40% more expensive. The quality is 50 to 60% less. And regardless of whatever Nat says that PSA hasn't changed its grading standards, the anecdotal evidence
it's still going
is that PSA has become more difficult to get 10s. And if you're buying raw, PSA 9 just isn't going to do it for you. It's not going to make any money. So, there's 24 months ago when the Gary V's and Steve Aoki's and the Mark Wahlberg and all these guys were pumping the hobby and hyping everything up and everybody's getting excited, there were ways to get paid, easy ways to get paid. Now, I am struggling. You and I have had this conversation multiple times. It's like, where's our angle? What can we do? Buying on eBay, selling on eBay, and trying to grade and do some of this other stuff has become damn near impossible. Neither one of us really has the time to be at shows on the weekends. And, so it's just like, where do we buy our cards from? How do we flip them? Where do we make our money in order to, buy some of the other stuff that we want or do some of the other stuff that we want? And we're struggling to find that angle. Neither one of us has the desire nor the funds to be spending $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 on some of these higher end cards where you may be able to make $1,000 or $1,500. So we gotta, we look lower end, and so you're either waiting months and months and months for BGS to get back to you. You take shots with SGC, but I mean, it's nowhere near where it was as far as like, hey, everybody, we can make some money. So I think that you will have some cautious people getting in, but I think people look at it, and unless they're nostalgic and want to collect, I don't think you're going to see the amount of people get in, regardless of, as you said, the amount of mainstream media that's being covered right now.
Well, that, and are you getting in with any kind of knowledge, or are you getting in fresh like thousands and thousands of people did at the beginning of the pandemic, for example?
Yeah.
And people were literally learning on the fly at that point, but pricing was at a different spot. While it, as we found out, went through the roof, it was at a different level compared to getting in now with this kind of hobby attention. So, yeah, it should be interesting. Yeah, there's going to be tons of people that look at those articles and they want to get into the hobby and they see what it takes, and they may be absolutely turned off. So, that doesn't help anyone. But with that being said, I do think there's people that are you're gonna pique old interest, or you're gonna get some new people in there that they may stay the course for a little while, do what they can, and dance around and follow the trends, and then when the time's right, then maybe they come huge impact on the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, the short term easy money is gone. So the amount of people that just dive head first with the FOMO, I think, is over. You may get some new people in for longer term periods. You may get better people in that aren't just coming over from crypto or NFTs, that are here's another place I can put my money, flip it, make 5x and be gone. So the quality of people may be different and the amount of people may be different, but you'll get some people in, but I don't think you'll get the same level of boom and price increase that you saw. I mean, even when the Ken Golden Netflix series comes out, and there's some other documentaries that are in the works, and there's all of these other things that are going on that'll bring a big shining spotlight to the hobby. It's just not going to move the needle like it did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so you're talking to the dude that's just accumulating stuff, waiting for the next peak, and then going to unload it all. I mean, there's definitely, listen, I know those people exist, and that's all they do. But I mean, are there that many that they're just sitting there waiting now for the next thing? Because who knows? Maybe it's 20 years from now.
There's a fair amount of people that are holding a bag right now. I mean,
well, there's a fair amount of people that have lost a ton of money, which is the problem.
And that's the thing.
They're not going to get out of that hole.
Either lost a ton of money, or they're holding a bunch of cards that they bought for five times what the current market value is.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you were buying in the peaks of 2021, the end of 2020, I mean, you're in trouble if you're still sitting on all those things.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, and it goes to show you the singles market versus the breaking and personal box opening. It's crazy stuff, and how they're interchanged.
And dude, I watched a 10 spot case. What is it? One of those like single boxes that cost
with 10 cards in it.
Yeah, that has 10 cards in it. Yeah, he was selling the spots for $3,600 a spot, and filled 10 spots, and you had a couple guys in there that bought 2 spots.
And would they do a hit draft, or it was random?
Yeah, they did. I don't remember what it was. I think it was a random. They pulled the 10 cards and then they just random off what numbers and what went to where. But I mean, it just goes to
Right.
show you that, I mean, it's $36,000 worth of break spots that this guy filled in 24 hours.
Right.
So people are the breaking
Right.
community.
And that's what I mean. But if the product's moving, what the price is not going to change.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now you have to figure that the cases and boxes that are being sold to breakers for the most part. You have to figure that there's not your average hobbyist that is buying $2,000 boxes of Prism to open.
Of course, and as we'll talk about later, we'll see if the breakers are going to be the ones that get impacted the most by some distribution issues.
Well, that is a fantastic lead-in to the next topic that we are going to talk
No,
about.
not on purpose.
Do you have anything else you want to mention for our lead topic of the show today here, or you're good for now?
No, I don't think so. I mean, listen, I mean, all as they say, all PR is good PR, right? So if the hobby's getting national attention, I can't imagine it's turning more people off than bringing, than not bringing people in, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, front page of ESPN.com with Ken Golden's goofy face on there, and with Drake, who obviously is maybe the most popular musician in the world, definitely helps add to the popularity, bring more eyeballs.
Yeah, I just think it gives you, if you're brand new, it just gives you a first glimpse of another side of the hobby that isn't the far majority of the hobby. So it may not lead you into the place like where I'm at in the hobby, but if you're here, you might get there.
Yeah, in another couple of weeks when the mantle sells for whatever the mantle sells for, there'll be another series of articles on TMZ and ESPN and Forbes and whatever as far as the highest selling baseball card of all time, and we'll see as these things continue to happen, how much of an impact they have. All right, next topic. Fanatics/Tops has announced that they are ceasing to send out product to some of their largest distributors. I think you have a little bit more information on this than I do, but let's talk about the potential impact that can have on the hobby. To me, that's an indication that they're gearing up basically at the end of this year to start going direct to consumer in 2023. Do you see this as any different? What else are you seeing on your side?
Yeah, I mean, well, so the second name slips me, but they definitely cut off GTS, which is the largest distributor there is, and they are no longer selling Tops products in the U.S. after this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say it starts at the end of this year, correct?
At the end of this year, yeah, at the end of this year, they can't sell any Tops products in 2023. Um, yeah, I mean, Fanatics said all along they were pretty transparent. They were like, we're having fewer middle folks. We want to get product directly to consumers. So then the question becomes, well, who's this going to have the biggest impact on? Is it going to be the LCS, or are they going to have better access? Is it going to be the breakers, who probably almost exclusively rely on distributors? Are they going to have the biggest impact? Or is it going to be me, because I can buy something maybe more affordable and get it right to my house, and then all of a sudden I don't break as much, or I don't, I'm not looking at other things because I can get it at a price I want sent right to me. So I mean, there's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack here. It's really a matter of where's the money flowing, and how's that's gonna, and how it affects everyone.
Well, you got to imagine that Tops will not deal with every Tom, Dick, and Harry breaker. That you're going to have to be a breaker of a certain size, and you also have to figure that they will probably roll out their own breakers.
Fanatics Breaking Network. I already can see it now, and you're gonna have to enroll or apply or do something, and you get to be a part of it. And by being a part of it, somehow it'll help them, and somehow it'll help you to be a part of the network. And I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah. So,
But is that going to be advantageous for them? Are they going to hit the same margins they're hitting now?
Yeah, I think it'll enable them to bring the price down pretty dramatically of product once they start going direct. I mean, you got to remember that Fanatics has all sorts of outlets to unload product because of their other apparel business. Let's see. So I pulled up an article. Let's see. News began leaking that two major distributors will no longer be receiving Topps products after 2022. Fanatics CEO Michael Rubin has been quite clear in interviews about reimagining the distribution chains of Topps products by cutting distributors out of the picture and dealing directly with hobby shops and customers. One such distribution company has been identified as losing Topps products as longtime Topps partner GTS. Distribution companies have been vital to the trading card industry for years, long responsible for supplying trading cards to hobby shops, breakers, chain stores across the world. Recent years, they've also been supplying. Sparked discussion through the industry as to how Topps products for 2023 will get into collectors' hands and also how it may impact pricing. Fanatics and Topps has not released any details on the future plans for distribution, but one can surmise they'll be beginning seeing Topps products sold in greater quantities on Fanatics' website, which is also something that we forgot about. I mean, shit, if they're selling boxes of Topps Chrome directly on their website and they're not going through GTS, they could easily
cheaper.
Yeah, they could easily lower those prices by 20 or 30%, and they may do that now to force Panini's hand for some of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got like Luber always says. I've seen him quoted many a time saying he doesn't think anything should be sold retail. Everything should be a blind Dutch auction in his world. So it's just what are you willing to pay, right? And then but the ultimate goal.
You can't do volume that way on a regular basis. You can do an initial product release with blind Dutch auction, but you can't do.
Can you set the market with it? I mean, is that what he's talking about? Set the market with it and then roll out?
The problem is you could set a market price lower than what you want it to be. I mean, that's happened with Panini.
Yeah, too much manipulation.
Well, not necessarily even too much manipulation. It's happened with Panini that, their first off the line product that they envisioned a retail price of $2,500 on the Dutch auction on Panini's website got all the way down to like $1,700 a box. And I don't think they're willing to roll with $1,700 a box as their retail price. Not retail, right, but as the price of the box. So they had to. Some people got some great deals through the Dutch auction, but then if you went back to their site after the auction was over, you were paying $2,500 a box. So that's the problem: is you roll the dice and let the Dutch auction set the market price. You could be. You wouldn't be upside down, but you could be making a lot less profit than you want it to be.
Yep. Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting. But again, who do you think hurts the most? Do you think LCS, card shops get hurt by this big time? I think it helps them.
They get the benefit.
Yeah.
Luber and Rubin have both already said that they want to sell. They'll sell direct on their website, and then they'll sell to shops. And then I think that there'll be a certain select network of breakers that are vetted and have a certain size that will be able to buy. But I don't think they're going to give them the same prices and give them the same margin to get fat that they have now. Because the way that I understand it, Panini and Topps right now sell to the distributors. Let's say the price of the box is $1,000. As far as I know, they sell to the distributors for $250, and then those distributors resell it to whoever they're reselling it to. They mark it up probably 50 to 100%. So then that box price goes to $500, and if the breaker winds up with that box for $500 and the retail price is $1,000, I mean, they got all kinds of room to make money. And what I would imagine is going to happen is Topps will just sell everything direct and then force them to move that retail price from maybe $1,000 down to $500, and they'll sell to everybody for $250. So they can cut the prices down. The people in the middle can still get paid, and now it just takes the distributor out of control.
If that happens and the box prices comes down as much, you're going to see an influx, an absolute influx of people, and maybe not even influx of new people. You're going to see a ton of people who've just been kind of tapping around here for many, many years, really get back into it like they did maybe 20 years ago, buying box after box after box.
Here's the thing. Why wouldn't they? If they're selling to the distributors, we use the same model. If they're selling to the distributors at $250, Topps makes $250 a box no matter what. So if the price comes down to $500, that makes the most sense for Topps because they're still going to make their $250.
100%.
And then
they're definitely going to do it.
They'll sell a lot more boxes.
At least they say they are.
They'll sell a lot more boxes.
They'll sell a ton more.
Yeah.
Now that begs the question: are they going to print more?
I don't think so. I think
so. It's affordable, but now there's twice as many.
I mean, what will hopefully happen, in Luber we trust, I guess, is that there's a retail product and a hobby product. The retail product will run those printers until the fucking ink dries, until the ink is out. And then the hobby product, you control the amount that gets printed for the purposes of value. I mean, that's the way it should be.
But are you talking? But will the same product have both a hobby and a retail release? Or you're saying retail only releases and hobby only releases?
I think that's the way it should be. I think
because you can get Topps Chrome in retail form, but it's still the same base Topps. You can vary the inserts and the pack odds on the inserts and the cooler stuff, but you still are getting the same amount of base cards. So you're not controlling print run that way.
Personally, I'd rather see a retail only product and a hobby only product, because then on the retail side of it, I can print this until the fucking printers break. And on the hobby side of it, it's all controlled. So I know how many boxes we made, and I know how many of their base cards are out there, and I know how many of the 17 colored parallels that are out there. And it's not like you can potentially pick one of those up in a retail product, even though your odds are much less. And that's what I would ideally like to see happen. Because like if Topps brings back Topps Chrome basketball when they get the license for basketball back, you don't want to see that as a retail product. I want to see that as a hobby product.
Same with football. People are dying for some Topps football.
Yeah, I mean, give me some Topps Chrome football, but make it a hobby product. And I think if they do that and then make a Topps fucking whatever you want to call it for retail, and then you print as much as you want of that. And get it out on
a lower price point anyway.
Yeah, it's a lower price point. It's all across Target and Walmart and whatever else. And that also precludes people from going out and buying it and reselling it because the value just isn't going to be there.
I was going to say it's going to cut down on the lines stalking the vendors.
Yeah, because the cards that are in the box, maybe you'll have some stuff that's of some value, but it's not going to be a situation where, you can 5X the box because you were the only one that had access to it.
Yeah, I mean, even now in the current format, it fascinates me how much people are willing to pay for the retail. Because, I know people like to post their retail hits all the time, but for every retail hit you see, they opened 100 boxes where they got dog shit.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
which is the way it should be. But then, with that being said, why are they selling for double and triple?
I mean, retail should be for the kids. I mean, literally, that's what. That's what it should be.
For the kids line on me.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm not going into Targets and Walmart's trying to stock up on them. That's just silly to me. But
you should be able to go into Target or Walmart with your kids and buy a freaking
right. A 9-year-old
box.
doesn't need a $500 box of cards. They need a $19.99 box with a couple packs to rip, and they're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, have single packs available for a few bucks, and boxes available for $15 or $20. But they can get their favorite players. Throw one auto into every X amount of boxes and some color in there just so that there's
but it's different now. This is where the social media has a negative, because the kids now, they're not looking at it, let me fill my binders with my favorite player. They're looking at, what can I sell this for? That's the first thing that goes through their mind.
Then that's tough shit.
Even kids don't want the retail.
Then that's
they
tough.
Just know too much.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Not all your kids aren't like that.
Aren't like what?
That are looking to flip cards for thousands of dollars.
They're not, because they don't know enough of that market, but they're concerned with, they want to know because they see what I do at times. And even though I don't do that in an upscale huge, they're like, oh, well, how much is this card? Like they know, like they inherently know. They're wondering what it's costing them.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you handed them a box of cards that you bought at Target for $20, and they got some of their favorite players. They're not going to be.
They're ecstatic. Yeah,
exactly. So that's what retail should be for.
Yes.
And if the demand isn't there, if they do that to the retail product, then freaking stop printing retail. I mean, it's just like you can't have it both ways.
Yeah. Listen, I still think as transparent as they're trying to be, there's still going to be a lot of questions on how this is all going to set up. I have only reason to believe that it's going to make it easier or me to buy my own boxes more than not.
I mean, that's...
I haven't bought, honestly, it's literally the number's less than 10 hobby boxes in the last 10 years since I stopped buying from my, the card shop where we grew up. And most of those have been for the kids, for my kids, for birthdays or Christmas or something like that. I haven't bought my own box because I just look at the price. I'm like, I don't want to spend that much money on that.
Yeah, I mean, that it's a waste.
Yeah,
it's not like, hey, let's go spend $300 or $400 on this box and hopefully hope for the best and nothing comes of it. I'm okay with eating $300 or $400.
Yeah, and listen, I get into breaks for the thrill of it because of the gambler in me and the chase there. But otherwise, the smartest thing to do with your money, honestly, is find a lane and buy singles.
Yeah, but you're not buying into breaks for $400.
No, I'm not buying into the big breaks. No, I look for the best values I can, and I hope I get lucky.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You're buying into breaks for $60, $80, $100 maybe.
Yeah, that's on the high scale. I'm talking. Yeah, I'm probably living half that.
Yeah.
And then and that's the other thing for me. Those packages come in, and I'm like, I divvy out a bunch of the stuff to the kids, so they keep expanding their collections.
Yep. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, in the next few months, I'm sure there's going to be some major announcements coming, and personally, I think it'd be great for the hobby to cut down on the amount of fly-by-night breakers that are able to get fat off of, they find a hookup or they're buying through somebody, or even the guys that are, have connections into that distribution and then are getting fat off selling to, these small-time breakers. It's like there's too much fat. And that needs to be cut down, and that those savings need to be passed on to the people that want to buy boxes.
Yeah, I hope you're right.
We shall see. All right, we got one other thing to talk about before we go into our massive football quarterback buy, sell, hold conversation, and that is Mr. Trout. The BGS9 Superfractor. I think that's the right card, right? So the card was a BGS9, and the person who owned it decided to cross it over and get it put into a PSA slab. They did receive a PSA 9 grade on it. The first question I will ask you is, do you think that they talked to somebody at PSA to guarantee it was going to 9 before they had them crack it open? And
I don't know. It's a 101 card, right? So I just have a big, for me, just putting it in a grading slab, I almost rather you see you put it in a slab to authenticate it as opposed to put a grade on it. But with that being said, you can make the same argument. Well, if you're going to slab it anyway as an authentic, why not just put a grade while you're at it? But I don't know. Did they guarantee the grade? I'm not sure. I mean, think about it. If PSA gave it a different grade, they could have used that to their advantage, right? Give it an 8.5 and screw Beckett. They could have used that to their advantage. So did someone talk? I hope nobody talked to them. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I understand that's not how it works, but you got to figure somebody made a phone call somewhere.
How much more is this card going to sell because it's in a PSA slab than a BGS slab?
I personally...
you're an idiot if you pay more money because now it's in a PSA 9 slab instead of a BGS 9, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I mean, as you
I
say...
think the whole thing's dumb to begin with.
It's a 101 card. It was already a BGS 9. I mean...
Doesn't matter what condition it's in. It could have a fucking... Oh boy, you're going to have to edit that out. It could have a crease through the middle of it. It could have a goddamn crease through the middle of it. And it'll still be worth what it's worth. Doesn't matter if it's a BGS 3 and a PSA 3. There's one of it. It's a cool card. I don't know. Me and 101, grading 101s is just not a thing.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, just the pure factor that you were risking cracking it open and damaging the card to get it from BGS 9 into a PSA slab is just an interesting mindset to me.
I mean, I didn't read the article or anything. Did the owner have some sort of motivation for this?
I think, with Beckett in a free fall decline at this point in time,
Get
as
out of here
far
with
as
this crap. It's a Mike Trout superfractor. Doesn't matter.
I mean, logically speaking, I think that
it could be in a Beckett Collectors Club grading slab. It wouldn't matter.
I don't.
Great. You're gonna get $10,000 on a multi-million-dollar sale. Congratulations.
I don't disagree.
If that's worth it to you to risk damaging, then God bless it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but that's the thing. It's just like, why would you risk the damage?
Well, that might have been the pre-agreement. You mess it up, you're still putting a 9 on it.
Well, that's the other question. Who cracked it? Did PSA have to crack it and assume that liability, or did they make the guy crack it?
I think they do it. I think when you cross over, you're sending it in the old slab saying cross this over to you.
Yeah, so I have to imagine there was a conversation that happened between the owner and PSA through this whole process.
Right.
I'm trying to see if I can find the article.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just a few different levels there. I know a lot of people disagree and they enjoy 101s and slabs and such, but
here we go.
I mean,
let's see.
Is a PSA 10 superfractor worth more than
at National?
Yeah, so if it was done at National, I'm sure there was a conversation.
Yeah, if they did it, so PSA 9, 10 auto. It looks like the guy just wanted it in a PSA slab instead of BGS. I mean, it looks really, really nice. But yeah,
he didn't want one of those new promo Beckett slab.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, he probably saw the new Beckett logo and was like, "All right,
I'm out of here.
I gotta get out of here as soon as possible."
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can respect liking one slab more than another, but if I'm holding that kind of value card, it's staying and where it's at.
Yeah, so if I had to take a guess, then they definitely had a conversation with PSA. He showed it to him and said, "Okay, what are are you going to 9 this?" And they probably said, "Yes, we will." And then he said, "Okay, here you go." And then they crossed it over. There's no way he was going to risk taking an 8.5 or an 8 on it without, I just don't see that happening. And then
even if he got an 8.5, how did it lose value?
Who knows? I mean, it's just
my opinion.
It's the optics of it.
Yeah, I know.
And then the other question is, you imagine if you're the guy that's got to crack that BGS slab open.
I mean, I'm sure they have tools at their disposal that do it relatively quickly. I mean, you're telling me each company doesn't have its own way of just quick popping it open? I'm sure that's the case.
I guess they have to. Otherwise, they're not. I don't think they're using a pair of pliers and a screwdriver like we are.
No, they can't be, because for the number of cards that get crossed over, they can't make a habit of damaging cards that they keep crossing over, or it wouldn't be a thing. Like they've got to have easy ways to get these cards out.
We gotta find out what they're using.
Yeah, forget that.
They're using the Slab Chopper 3000 guy. That's what they're using. They just chop.
But listen, I get encapsulating it forever if that's your goal, but is the raw version of that card that much less than a graded version of that card?
Probably.
There's only one of them.
Yeah, I would agree.
So and honestly, in my head, and I'd love for some comments onto why it matters, the grade that is. I get putting it in something to protect it forever, but why do we need a grade on it?
Well, I mean,
don't get me wrong. It looks cool. It looks cool to have a superfractor 9.5, or a 10. If that's the route you go with it, if you're keeping it forever and that's your thing, fine. But if I had that card raw, why bother with a grade if I'm getting rid of it?
I think you have authentication condition that it just if you're gonna be a buyer, that that the card has no major damage to it. I think that's what that is.
And it's not, I guess, not a knockoff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If they slab it, it's authentic.
Yeah, and if it's a 9, that there's no major creases, no major cuts,
Yeah, no, I understand.
centering,
But
et
but
cetera,
at
et
the end of the
cetera.
day, where I come from, there's only one of them. So you're paying for one of them. You're not competing it. There's none graded
Yeah,
lower.
but
There's none graded higher.
if I'm
There can't be any
spending
graded lower. Can't be any graded higher.
if I'm
Doesn't
spending
matter what's wrong with the card. There's one of them.
if I'm spending that kind of money though, I want to know that the card is real and in good condition.
Fair enough.
But anyway, let's move on. We are going to close with the massive, massive buy, sell, hold on football quarterbacks. We got the season coming up. This episode will drop.
God, this is your thing, man. This is your thing.
Yeah, I gotta save some of whatever voice I got
Drink
left
some
here.
more water.
Yeah. We got football starting first week of September, so the hype train is real on a lot of these guys, and as you guys are aware, quarterbacks drive the hobby. So we're going to be reviewing 2020. We're going to be reviewing guys that are up for discussion, I guess you could say. We're not looking at Burrow. We're not looking at Herbert. We're not looking at Josh Allen. We're not looking at Mahomes. We're not looking at Brady. Those guys are all established. Those guys, their markets are already, booming. There's not. If you're looking to get into those players, the window is not now. As the season builds up, the prices build up, and especially on those players, those are already, you missed the window. You got to wait until February on some of those guys. Some of the other guys that we're going to look at, there are still potential opportunities, even though in certain cases markets have already moved. But we want to look at, should you be selling now versus when the season starts, because the hype is there now, and if the season is any indication of performance, if they don't perform on the field, will you see these markets drop off? So that's why we're going to discuss, I don't know, we have 10 or 12 guys that we're going to talk about. I don't even know where to start. Do you want to start with the 2021 class, or do you want to end with the 2021 class?
Probably should end with them.
All right. So then let's start with
throwing darts.
Let's start with a show favorite that we've covered.
Boy. Let me guess.
We've covered multiple times. There's two. Then there's two show favorites. We'll save Tua. We'll talk about Drew Lock. We've talked Drew Lock a couple times on this show. There's some rumblings and some hobby hype, some influencers that are buying Lock cards and showing them on social media and getting everybody all whipped up in a frenzy for Drew Lock. And
is that because they're sitting on a lot of them?
I don't know, but I will say that even though we have recommended him in the past, I am not recommending him now. He could not hack it in Denver. He is, from everything that you read, potentially going to not even get the starting job in Seattle. The conversation is Geno Smith may beat him out for the starting job. If you look at his base cards, even that, you're seeing a market jump. Back in June, his PSA 10 base cards were selling for $11. August, last sale was $40. So you're talking almost a 4x move in the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks on his base stuff. And this is all just pure speculation. His silver PSA 10, $86. Last sale, end of July, $127. Personally, I would dump now if you have stuff that you want to sell. The worst thing that can happen for you is if you roll the dice and he does not get the starting job and loses out to Geno Smith, or he plays for a few games, looks awful, and then Geno Smith comes in and replaces him. So,
and that'll be the end of him.
Yeah, and that is exactly correct. He got multiple shots to be successful in Denver with an offense and an offensive line. In Seattle, he obviously has weapons with Lockett and DK Metcalf, but the offensive line is pure garbage. And you just figure that if he was going to be successful, he would have done it already.
Yeah, and listen, I don't think anybody. I mean, if you've been holding on to Drew Lock cards and you've got a little bit of a bump now with what you're speaking of, I am 100% selling them and being thankful that I made it pulled out of the basement.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I don't see it either. I always say this all the time. I always look at football cards and I base my values on fantasy relevance, and Drew Lock has 0. So
yeah, I would agree.
I just don't see it happening.
I would agree. I think the only hype that you're going to get on from here on out on lock stuff is artificial. It's guys that are pumping him up
100%.
with the prayer that he comes in and gets a couple of good games and then you can dump. So it's a very dangerous game, and that's the case with a lot of these guys we're going to talk about. It's a very dangerous game to play as far as you being able to get in and get out. Usually these guys that are pumping this shit on social media have much larger access to buying and selling than you do. So I personally, if you have not bought Drew Lock cards, don't. If you're looking to sell your stuff, dump it now. It's not going to get much better.
I mean, if you're a pump and dumper here, the Seahawks open the season in Denver on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, but Drew Lock has to actually be playing.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, like for the optics of Monday Night Football, if Drew Lock rolls in there and you just get more, it'll just get more attention.
Yeah, if you want to roll the dice and you want to hold through camp and through preseason and hope that he gets to start and rolls into Denver and plays well, and God forbid he throws for 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns in Denver on Monday night, week 1, will you make more money than where they are now? 100%. The odds that happens, pretty bad.
Yeah, I want 0 Drew Lock cards.
Yeah, nothing. All right, let's move on because we got a bunch. Next is my man Mitch Trubisky.
He just got way too much online.
There's a ton of people that are hyping, Mitch too, and I mean, personally, in my opinion, I think Pittsburgh brought him in as a stopgap until they can get Kenny Pickett up and running. But let's take a quick look at his market. We'll look at his Prism Silver PSA 10. Pop on this is $591. Last sale was $120. Over the last week, his stuff has gone 90 to 120, so it's up. Back in May, it was all the way at 62. So if you look at May to now, it went from 62 to 120. It doubled. Mitch is more of a crapshoot as far as like you have a better shot that he's going to be playing to start week 1. There's nobody that's really thinking that Pickett's going to be week 1 starter. And Pittsburgh has weapons. Pittsburgh has 3 or 4 really good receivers. So it just depends on whether or not Mitch can play. If Mitch plays well, you can still see probably a little bit more to go on this. Over the last year, these cards were as high as 180. Whether or not you want to try to squeeze that out for 50, for 50, 60 bucks, that's up to you. But personally, also, if I'm in this card and looking to get out of it, I'd be looking to get out soon.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now because you're looking at, even if Trubisky is the week 1 starter, you're looking at Cincy, New England, at Cleveland, the Jets, and at Buffalo. That could be horrific.
Yeah. 100%.
Horrific. He ain't playing well in those 5 games to make any kind of a hobby impact.
Yep. So once again, take what we say with a grain of salt. But if you want to roll the dice on some of these guys, that's a tough one.
I mean, listen, like in the case of Drew Lock, if I got in at $10 for $10, I'll roll that dice.
Yeah.
but
exactly. I mean, if you're sitting on this stuff for really low prices, great. But if you're trying to buy in now,
pass.
Pass is exactly correct. All right, let's see who else do we have outside the 2021 class. Jalen Hurts.
Ooh.
So Jalen Hurts had his fair share of ups and downs over the last few years. we've recommended Hurts on a couple of occasions. And, the interesting part of him is his 2020 Prism Silver PSA 10 selling for last sale 540. Pop on this very, very low, 156. January of this year, card was selling for 261 and has slowly gained popularity and gained in monetary value over the year based on they got A.J. Brown. They looked like they got an offense. He looked real good in preseason. So this card could see some additional value. They play in the NFC East, which is absolutely horrific.
Their schedule is very favorable.
Yeah. So, if $600 isn't your price point, look at PSA 9, which is 125. 125 was selling as high as 250 as of September of last year. So if he proves that he's got the stuff and leads Philly to win some games and is accumulating passing TDs, rushing yards, all there's definitely room to grow on Hurts right now.
And you can't go wrong with week 1 playing the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, 100%.
That should get you off to a nice start.
More than likely, he'll have at least a couple good games, and if you're looking to get in, get out, you'll definitely see some room. All right, let's get this guy out of the way. Let's talk to Deshaun Watson.
Oh, Jesus. Do we have to?
Yeah, we talk about things for hobby relevance. We don't talk about things for political or any other reason. It's a huge roll of the dice. 6-game suspension, NFL appeals. Goodell really wants a year. If he gets a year, you got to figure his cards will take a bit of a hit. Prism Silver PSA 10 pop $24.49, last sale $380. Back in July, it was selling for the lowest that it's sold for in the last couple of years at $235. I think that if he does not get suspended for the entire season, like let's say they come back and say 10 games and a huge fine, he's going to come back and play. There's a lot of people that think Deshaun Watson is very, very, very talented, and the hobby.
He's a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah. So if he puts this thing finally behind him, if you can overlook him as a scumbag of a human being,
that's the key.
Then there's definitely money to be made here. Like if he comes back, puts all this behind him, has some receivers and some other people to throw the ball to, like if you look at Burrow's Silver PSA 10, it's $2,500. Deshaun's at $380. Not to say that you put them on the same level, but could his PSA 10 Prism Silver easily be selling for $1,000, $1,500? I don't see that. There's not unreasonable at all on that.
Yeah, I don't know what his ceiling is, but the talent's there to see a considerable bump. Agreed.
Yeah, just this card alone, back in March of this year, this card was selling for $900.
But is it just going to be people trying to move it down the road to the next guy flipping it, or are you going to actually get people trying to buy Deshaun Watson forever?
I don't know. I think it all. I don't think that will be determined for at least another couple of years. If he comes back and plays well and is leading Cleveland to winning games, it seems like everybody in this league at some point has been forgiven for their indiscretions. Ray Lewis freaking killed a guy and came back and became one of the most popular players in the NFL. Ray Rice beat his wife on camera and came back and still had a very successful career.
He never played again after that.
Yeah, he did.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't think he came back.
Yeah, no, he played. He got suspended, but he played. afterwards.
I thought he got blackballed after that. I didn't think he ever played again after that.
Maybe I'm wrong.
You know better than me though.
I'm almost positive he came back.
But yeah, to your point, a lot of guys get away with some heinous things, and it doesn't seem to affect them on the field.
Agreed. Let's see what happened with.
Oh, you got to know.
Yeah, he got charged with aggravated assault. Goodell suspended him for 2 games. He got suspended for 2 games, guy, and then he came back.
I don't know. I feel like he never played again. All right, moving on.
He got suspended, I believe, if you look at his games played in 2010, because he only played. Yeah, either way, he did come back and play. His career was short.
Yeah, it was just that nobody gave him a contract after the Ravens.
Correct.
So what year did this all happen?
Let's see.
The dude was 26 years old. I mean, there's no way with what he put up in those he just couldn't play anymore. I'm telling you, he didn't play again because of this. In some way, shape, or form.
It says he was run out of football. 2014 domestic violence arrest.
There you go. And his last game was in 2013. He never played again after that. But that's a rare example because the point you were making was people do some crazy stuff and they still play football.
Yeah, I mean, there's been other guys, Kareem Hunt, caught on camera kicking a woman in the face, and
which is surprising because that's what I thought was the problem with Rice's. I mean, terrible thing, but the optics of it being for everyone to see on video is what I think did him in. But then, there's been video things since then.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson beating his kids with a stick. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that has come out on various guys, and these guys are still playing. And Ray Rice seems to be the one example of that. But the point being, if he comes 100%. Back and he plays well, and Cleveland's winning games, and he throws for 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, his stuff's gonna skyrocket. The hobby. At the end of the day, most people in the hobby don't give a fuck about the off-the-field stuff. All they want to do is see stats and,
what is my card worth?
What's the card worth? So,
you ain't wrong there.
All right, moving along because we're already at 57 minutes here. Jeez, we are rambling on. Tua, we have recommended Tua on multiple occasions, also on this podcast.
You have recommended Tua.
Well, if you bought him, I'd be right about now. Let's see. So his stuff's surprisingly flat. At least his base stuff has been surprisingly flat over the last. Let's try to narrow this time window. So over the last year, $70 to $94. Not flat, but not like massive growth. Look at his. Oh, come on. You guys don't have the silver stuff. His raw silver selling for $95. That has seen pretty dramatic growth. April was selling for $36. You could have gotten his raw silvers. And last sale, $95. So 3x on his silver stuff. Obviously, they got Waddle, they got Tyreek. The hope for Dolphins fans and Tua fans is that, he's going to basically dump the ball 6 yards and those two guys are going to run down the field and score. And then he'll get the stats. Dolphins win games. The AFC East, other than the Bills, ain't great. So, if Tua puts up a decent season, he is a fan favorite, and I think that there'll be a lot of guys that buy his stuff.
Yeah, and they got a pretty favorable schedule. I mean, we all know what strength of schedule means at the beginning of the year. It sometimes doesn't mean a lot because as teams evolve, but there's definitely a nice favorable section in the first 8 weeks of his schedule. So if he can weather the storm of playing New England and Buffalo in the first 3 weeks, other than that, he should have some potential for some nice games.
Yeah, even New England, I'm not scared of. Especially at the beginning of the season, you're not in, Boston and 20-degree weather and whatever.
No, that game's home.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be in Miami.
I mean, I don't think New England's anywhere in what they used to be in any capacity. So I think that other than Buffalo, he has a chance to really impress some people. And as I said, it's only going to take a couple of passes to show that either A, he can hit Tyreek on the long ball, or B, that he can hit Tyreek over the middle or Waddle over the middle for 12 yards, and then they run it 40 yards down the field and score for people to get hyped onto it.
I don't disagree. As much as I don't like his long-term ability, in the short term, there's something there.
Yeah, I think you got room on Tua here to make a little bit of money. Last one outside of the 2021 class is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is in a contract year. He is playing for his future. It's interesting. They lost Hollywood Brown in Baltimore. They're gonna get Bateman back. They got a couple of other guys. His stuff is flat. If you look at it, his base PSA 10 back in April was selling March, April, 300 to 395. Last sale in August, yesterday, was 330. It's just constantly fluctuating between $300 and $400 on the base. His silver is crazy expensive because the pop is so low, but it also has been pretty flat over the last year, between basically selling between $5,000 and $5,500, which is pretty crazy. But I mean, the pop's 26. And if you look at the PSA 9, the PSA 9 is 550. Pop 76. December 340. Last sale 550. So there's definitely been a bit of a bump on that, but it also peaked out at 825 in March. So personally, I think if Lamar's playing for his future and his next big deal, I think he's gonna have a great season. And whether or not he goes back to Baltimore or goes somewhere else, who knows? But he'll.
Yeah, I was gonna say he gets a deal done either before the season or an extension done. You think that instantly hypes him if he stays with Baltimore? Or do you think the longer he goes through the season without a contract?
Yeah, for me, I'd rather see him not have a contract.
Yeah, and play for one, just
exactly.
From that standpoint.
Yeah, because if you're hungry and you're looking to get paid,
you don't think he's got a big enough body of work that he's going to get paid regardless? Yeah, I know it's a
it's a tough one.
That's a tough question, but yeah.
I mean, granted, in NFL they're giving out fucking money. I mean, look at the deal Kyler got. Kyler.
Well, yeah, you're not cool unless you make more than the guy that got paid the week before.
And
Kyler, the Ravens really going to give Lamar Kyler money? I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying there's got to be a cutoff somewhere.
If you give me a choice between Kyler and Lamar, I'll take Lamar every time.
I'll take Lamar every time. Yes, 100% agree.
And if you look at Lamar's numbers over the first 4 seasons of his career, he has never played all 16 games. He has never thrown for more than 3,100 yards.
But you mean he runs the ball a lot?
Yeah, I'm getting there. He has 36 touchdowns in one season. Otherwise, his touchdown numbers are pretty low. Where's his rushing stats? He has 2,000-yard rushing seasons, and last year he rushed for 767 yards. So, in my opinion, he had one really, really good season. One one average to good season, and then 2 mediocre seasons.
Okay, so yeah, there's
once again.
So then you want to see more from him?
Yeah, I would like to see more from him, and that's why I said if he's playing for a contract, I think he'll throw for 3,500 and rush for 1,000 because he's playing to get paid. But we'll see if Baltimore gets a deal done before the season starts. But I mean, if you look at Kyler's numbers are fucking garbage compared to that, and Arizona paid him a truck ton of money.
Yeah, he's the second average annual better. The only one making more is Rodgers, right?
Yeah, Kyler has not thrown for more than 4,000 yards, has not thrown for more than 26 touchdowns in a season, has thrown for double-digit interceptions in every season.
Yeah, and as I mentioned a few weeks ago, can't finish a season with a winning record. His second half win-loss record is abysmal.
And other than
And that's not all the
2020,
team.
other than 2020, his rushing yards aren't impressive either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with that being said, if you look at the NFL's distinction on what consists of a body of work to get you paid, Lamar's right there, so he'll get paid anyway. But personally, if I'm a hobby collector, I want to see him not have a contract and be playing for it.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't argue that.
All right, we are approaching way long here, so we
pick one or two of the juicy ones, and we can carry it over.
We'll walk through all of them. Just be quick. I'll just throw them out to you, and you tell me what your 2 cents is, and then I'll give you mine. But we have to walk through everything. All right, so now we'll cover the 2021 quarterbacks. Zach Wilson, buy, sell, hold.
Wait for it to go lower, and then maybe buy with this knee injury.
Okay, so you think that there's a future for Zach as far as him being able to win and put up numbers?
Yeah, I think the Jets are trying to do everything they can to make him successful. So we haven't seen enough to make that determination at all, and they were gearing up to do that this year, and we're going to see the year 2 quarterback make the next stride, and then he gets hurt in the first preseason game. So I don't know if that's going to suck the wind out of the sails or not, but I need to see more.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll agree with that, I guess. I think
so if I have, I'll hold.
Okay, so yeah, I'll be in agreement. I think the Jets are trying to build an offense, and then we'll know over the next couple of years whether or not Wilson's the guy and going to be able to fill out the offense. Yeah. Mac Jones, buy, sell, hold.
Matt Patricia is his offensive coordinator. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, in my opinion, I'm selling all day on Mac Jones. I think number one, they have no wide receivers, and he's not Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady could make a wide receiver out of a guy that he picked up in the parking lot in Home Depot and, make him a hero. And Mac Jones isn't that guy, and their number one wide receiver is Devontae Parker. So
Mac Jones didn't make Kendrick Bourne fantasy relevant last year? I'm just messing with you, guy. Yeah.
And I also think at some point Bill Belichick retires. So Belichick.
I don't see Belichick lasting, all of Mac Jones' career. Do you?
No, I don't. And I also think that I don't think at this point in his life, Belichick is going to endure losing season after losing season. So unless they make some adjustments and start to win somehow, I think Belichick just hangs it up and walks away.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Mac Jones's prices are purely based on the coattails of Tom Brady and that organization's success.
Yeah, Tom Brady legacy, Bill Belichick, Mac Jones is the next Tom Brady. Agreed.
And everybody wanted to make sure they were in at ground zero if Mac Jones was going to be the next Tom Brady because of what the Patriots did with the late draft pick and what he's become, etc.
I would completely agree with
So I'm selling Mac Jones all day right now, yes.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Davis Mills.
I mean, he's a Texan, isn't he?
Yes.
Does he have any competition?
No, he has none. I mean, he's the starter.
Yeah, I mean, what are you hoping to get out of Davis Mills? That they're getting killed and he is the ultimate garbage quarterback and throws 35 times in the second half and puts up numbers?
That's possible.
I guess. I mean, I don't know.
If you look at the numbers in the last 5 or 6 games of last year, he averaged like 280 yards and like 2.2 touchdowns.
Right, and on a losing team, not going to the playoffs, is that going to move the needle for anybody?
Well, his last silver PSA 10 sold for $4.99 in 10 days ago.
Because people are thinking that's going up.
I mean, he's a quarterback. He's a starting
100%,
quarterback.
100%.
I mean, so if people are getting hyped on Drew Lock, I would buy Davis Mills every day of the week over Drew Lock. Period.
At $500, you getting in on that?
At $500, probably not. But if you give me the opportunity to buy one guy or another, I will buy Davis Mills over Drew Lock any day.
Fair enough. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see. I mean, they look like they're not going anywhere near the playoffs. In the next 3 to 5
anytime
years.
soon. Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. But if he puts up numbers during the regular season, there's still a market for that.
Yeah, I guess.
Where's his game log? He had some. So you look at his game log from last year, especially at the tail end of last year. He threw for 250 yards or more. 1, 2, 3 out of the last 5 games, throwing for 300 yards twice. And then he threw for 2 or more touchdowns 3 out of the last 5 games, with 3 touchdowns once. So,
Well, I'll give you this. Back to fantasy perspective, he is ranked higher than Mitch Trubisky and Drew Lock.
He threw for 300 yards 1, 2, 3, 4 times last year, and 3 or more touchdowns twice. So, garbage time.
Yeah, I guess if that's enough to move it, I get it. I just don't see him having any kind of hobby relevance. Like he's gonna have to be even better than that, I think, to move the needle on him.
Well, he was a rookie, so
yeah. So maybe yeah.
They got a couple. They got a couple of young receivers and Brandon Cooks. So in second half garbage time when they're down 20 points at halftime, if he racks up stats, I think his cards will go up. Well, I would be a wait and see right now. If he gets off to a slow start and he gives you an opportunity to potentially get in, you can look at it. His base stuff, his last base PSA 10 sold for $100. You can potentially look at that.
Yeah, that'd be more my lane on him.
Or look at some of the other parallels that are out there. With Prism, obviously you got 17 colors. That you can look at.
Yeah.
Try to find some opportunities.
This year's schedule, it doesn't have too many favorable matchups for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, am I saying he's Burrow and Herbert? No, but
yeah, no. The name of the game is to make money, and does it exist?
Can he potentially throw for 3,500 to 4,000 yards and 25 to 30 touchdowns? Yes, I think he
can.
Okay. All right. Justin Fields.
Yeah, why don't you start?
I'm hold to buy on Fields. I think Chicago is trying to build around him. If you go with your hobby relevance theory, he's on most people's sleeper lists. People think that obviously he's gonna take over the reins completely of that team. All the other backup quarterbacks that they had are gone, and it's his team. Some of the prices on him, I think, are inflated. So, now may not be the time, but, over the next few years, you should be able to find some opportunities. I know that his, Prism Silver PSA 10 card was sold for $750, which is about a third of where Burrow and Herbert are. So if he comes out and plays big, his stuff could go up. But I don't think the Bears are anywhere near a playoff spot for at least a couple of years. So I do think there'll be room to buy into Fields here, as long as it's not the super high-end stuff, which I think is already crazy overpriced.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think I'm a sell Fields right now. He's got a little bit of a tough opening to the schedule, but otherwise the Bears have some nice stretches against some teams where, he should be able to put up some numbers. So I might be holding a little longer and maybe see how the season starts. And then if the price is right, get in. But I'm certainly not down on Fields. And he's got, like I said, he's got a couple two decent stretches on his schedule this year where he can definitely be putting up some numbers against some not overwhelming defenses.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, almost to the end. Trey Lance.
I literally know nothing about this guy. I can tell you that right up front.
Okay. So interestingly enough, his PSA 10 Prism base last sold for $300 and $305 respectively today on eBay. So his base stuff selling for some pretty high numbers. Let's see what else we have in the sales history. Some of his colored parallels selling for $5 and change. Prism, orange discos, silver PSA. Oh, this seems really low. Prism silver auto PSA 10, 1100. Oh, okay. It's not a PSA 10. That's why. It's a PSA 9 auto 10. That's why it sold for so cheap. I mean, is there room to make money? Same as Fields. You know, his stuff's selling for a third of what Herbert and Burrow stuff is selling for. And if he can go out and prove that he can win on the field and get the Niners to the playoffs, they have weapons, Debo and Kittle and Ayuk. And he's shown that he has some flashes. But once again, dude's played freaking a handful of games before going to the pros. He played one season in college, and that's it.
Yeah, that's what I remember. That's what I remember about him. I remember big arm, and he has the ability to run.
Yeah, he's he's an athletic talent. His silver Prism PSA 10 best offer $550 on August 10th. Once again, very reasonable if he performs on the field. There's definitely room to grow with some of this stuff. His super high end auto out of 10, out of 15 cards are insanely expensive, but if you're going lower end, middle of the road, there should be room.
Yeah, and again, like I like equating, these guys in the news based on their fantasy performances. I don't know how much you've done prep for some of our upcoming drafts here, but Trey Lance is projected to potentially be a top 10 or top 15 fantasy quarterback this year. Yeah, no, I know.
I'm aware.
So there's people expecting good things out of him.
Yeah, I am completely aware of that.
For only starting 2 games as a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that have a lot of faith in his athletic ability. So, I would be a hold buy on Lance right now.
Yeah, based on all the above, I would agree.
And last but not least, the first pick in the 2021 draft, Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, boy.
Am I starting?
Well, he's got Christian Kirk to save the world, so.
And don't forget about Evan Ingram.
Oh, and Evan Ingram. I heard he's already dropping balls.
He caught a touchdown last night, but sure.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Hey, what do you know?
I mean, your argument could be he's too talented to fail, I guess. Looking at trying to find his pricing is pretty similar to Fields and Lance. His colored Prism PSA 10 stuff is in the $500 range. Donruss stuff is in the $100 to $300 range. Anything with an auto or low numbered is insanely expensive.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the dude was never used to losing, right? Until he got to the NFL. So got his ass kicked last year. They made some changes. He's still the number 1 overall pick. I think you got to be intrigued by what he potentially could do, even though you didn't see much of it last year. Schedule's favorable. So again, the schedule's real favorable. So he's got the year under his belt, and they made some changes to this offense, and they can get him rolling into some kind of a rhythm. Could certainly help out or be favorable to the old card market.
Yeah, and I think Lawrence, more than the other guys, is in much more of a team rebuild. Like the Bears defense is decent, especially if they can find a way to re-sign Smith. And then Niners are win now. I mean, Niners are ready.
Defense is ready.
Yeah, defense is ready. Their offense is ready. Niners are win now. I think the Jaguars are much more of a rebuild. They gave Christian Kirk a stupid amount of money, and he's not that good. Same with Ingram. So I think they're going to need to bring in some wide receivers at some point. to go with Lawrence. He's not going to be able to do it with those guys.
Well, they get their running back this year.
Yeah,
Supposed to be a rookie last year.
They get
ATN
back and James Robinson. So they got a run game. Their offensive line is okay.
Maybe they surprise us.
That's possible, but I mean, the depth chart, in my opinion, for running backs isn't there. But at the same time, Lawrence it's only going up from here. So, with him being the first pick in the draft and the premium on that, I think it's just a matter of whether or not he can get to respectable numbers. I mean, like last year, he threw for 3,600 yards, 12 TDs, 17 picks. So if he can keep getting that better, throw for 4,000 yards and 20 TDs and get his interceptions down, that'll help.
Right. So the game you're playing is his values are still, based on those numbers, he's overpriced. But he's so hyped as the number one pick, and rightly so, that you're playing the game of when can I get in? What's the right time to get in before he does take that next step and it goes bonkers and you never can touch a card again.
Yeah.
If that's the path he goes on, you're playing that game right now.
Yep. I would agree. 100% agree that you are playing the game of chicken, and trying to find your best entry point to get him at a decent price before he explodes. If you think he's going to explode, then that
correct.
Is exactly correct.
Yeah. I mean, we can't predict anything, but yeah.
And, the interesting factor in all of the 2021 quarterbacks is the fact that the print quality is shit for 2021 products. The grading and the PSA 10 pops are probably going to be less than 2020, 2019, 2018. So that could impact value as far as buying those PSA 10 cards. They could be more expensive after some of this stuff shakes out and the pops reports are established over a year or two. So I think that also factors into play here, and we'll talk more about PSA grading and numbers and stuff in a couple of weeks when we're back to recording some new episodes. All right, I'm done. We've had a marathon, an hour and 20
minutes. We got to
get
you in bed for a nap, sir.
Seriously, I got surgery at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So, all right, so we're done. You got any final words?
No, good luck tomorrow, sir, and we'll get you back sooner than later.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. So this is the second episode that we recorded. First one will drop the 14th. This one will drop the 20th. And then we should be recording as normal going forward on the 27th and dropping new episodes every Saturday again. So we are signing off, and we'll see y'all in a couple weeks.